music queued up, but we can't do that. Oh yeah. Already.
We live?
We're live.
Can you hear me out there?
I can hear you just fine.
Echo.
What's going on, everybody?
Hey.
It looks like we got a couple viewers according to the back end. Yeah. Good morning, man. Or, well, good morning for me. Good evening for you.
Good morning to you. Good. It's a great evening for me.
Hell yeah, dude. We were just getting acquainted. Oh, Moon's gone now.
Yeah.
Hey, Chaos Conclave, what's going on, man? It is morning for Chaos Conclave. Anna's here, good morning. These are all Tokyo homies rolling in the chat. Oh, DM Tails. What's going on, brother? DM Tails is on EST.
Yeah.
I think, Wes, you're in, are you in New Jersey? I believe Wes is in New Jersey. Greater Philadelphia area. But yeah, while everybody rolls in, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. This DM Tail says, yep, Jersey. What's up? Go Birds. For everybody out there, this weekend stream is a very special occasion. Simon Templar, what's going on, man? Great to see you. Trader Oi, what's good? West is 5 blocks from the Delaware River. Go Birds. Don't fall in. As I've been trying to say, we have a really special stream this weekend. Obviously, as you can see, we have a guest here today. Jean-Luc of the Dungeons Key is a good friend of the channel. For those of you guys who don't know, Jean-Luc is actually the first guy to ever reach out to me as a YouTuber and ask me to review one of his books, which was actually, I have right here, called Kavlov's Sanctuary, which is a Morkborg module inspired by Keep on the Borderlands. And yeah, so Jean-Luc was the first guy to ever reach out to me. He sent me his book for review. I made a video, and that's how we got connected. And we just got to talking, and we became good buddies. And we met for the first time in person at PAX Unplugged this last year. And yeah, Jean-Luc, you've been cooking something up beyond the Morkborg space. So do you want to give the people at home a little idea of what we're going to be doing today?
Yeah, absolutely. And I like the segue. It is beyond the Morkborg space. It is a space-themed sci-fi, a cinematic TTRPG. So first, I just want to say thank you, Tanner, obviously for the great intro and for having me on. Yeah, we've known each other for a while now. I mean, going on maybe over a year for sure. And it was great to finally meet in person. Today we are picking up where we left off. So for those of you that don't know, I've been running a Kickstarter for my latest game called Dirtbags, sci-fi shooter RPG. And as part of that Kickstarter, I'm teaming up with a few content creators to try and kind of spread the word on their channel. And in return, they have me on as a guest, and we get to create a Dirtbags one-shot together. We started earlier this week with Wes from DM Tales, who is currently in the chat, and now Tanner and I, like a relay race, are picking up where we left off with Wes's chat and audience to you. And then ultimately, we'll be wrapping everything up with a session with Todd Terwilliger from Hex Press, the Hex Press YouTube channel on the 16th. But more on that later, as they say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Just super stoked to be here.
No, yeah, dude, thank you so much for joining. This is a long time coming. We've been talking about doing something together for a while. And yeah, as I've mentioned in my promotion of this stream, but I wanted to show you guys, Jean-Luc did gift me, I have a playtest copy of Dirtbags in my possession. Jean-Luc worked through me getting up and looking for it like a consummate professional. But I just want to let you guys know that I do have a copy here on me. I've read through the game, and I played it with Jean-Luc at PAX Unplugged, and I loved it. So, real quick too, I wanted, if you don't mind, do you mind explaining kind of like the gameplay loop and kind of mindset? So before we hop into the design, we can start thinking like Dirtbags. I saw Trader over here said he's from Detroit. He feels like he's already living with the Dirtbags. So maybe Trader is already in the right headspace.
So the game is set in modern Detroit, right? 2025. We're all dirtbags. No, I'm kidding. So yeah, absolutely. So we can kind of take a step back. 10,000 foot view. What is Dirtbags all about? What is a cinematic? Shooter RPG.
Exactly.
And how does it fit into what it is that we're creating here? So at its core. What is a dirtbag? A dirtbag is essentially, the players take on the role of these convicts that are being churned through, a dystopian, corporate prison system, through the military foundation. There's a program aptly named the Rehabilitation Incentive Program, or RIP for short, that kind of churns convicts and players through the system and forces them to, take on different sorts of jobs and missions, as part of their way of reintegrating those individuals into society. It's inspired by the IP like Starship Troopers, Colonial Marines, Tank Girl, Aliens, kinds of those sci-fi tropes, but it's got a bit more of a cyberpunk-esque feel in the sense that, you're not really a proud dirtbag. You are not, you're not really happy to be, part of the RIP. In fact, you want to do everything that you can to get out of it. You're really trying to fight the system. It's a game about resistance and saying F you to big corpo, because that's kind of the world that not only we find ourselves in today, ironically speaking, but also that these dirtbags find themselves in. So it's just about trying to escape the clutches of the corporate echelon while being pitted against swarms of alien bugs, going on suicidal salvage missions, you name it. So that's kind of what the game is at its core.
Yeah, right on. That was a great elevator pitch. Sorry, I'm just turning down the music a little bit in the background.
Sure.
But yeah, and I know I said this in my little blurb, and when I played, it really reminded me of Starship Troopers and kind of like the Suicide Squad. That kind of vibe of when we played in PAX Unplugged, it did feel like we wanted to get out alive, but it gave me the kind of feeling of like, whether or not that happens, we've got a job to do. And it really helps put me in that mind space of accomplish the mission and hopefully get out alive. And yeah, the D6 like dice pool mechanic, could you just explain that a little bit before we get into it? Because I think that's pretty integral to the design process.
Yeah, absolutely. So Dirtbags essentially uses two D6 pool systems. One for tracking actions, and one for ammunition. One for firing your gun. Right, it's a shooter RPG. Right, at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So as far as actions are concerned, you have your action pool, and unlike some other D6 pool systems, you aren't building your pool right using abilities or skills or your ability scores. You always have essentially a fixed starting size. And what you want to do is to simply just describe what it is that you're trying to accomplish. choose a number of die that you want to risk, gamble and roll, and then for each success that you roll, which is from 4 to 6, you complete one of the actions you described in the order that you describe them. So, for instance, if you want to run across the hallway, dive behind cover, and throw a grenade, you've just described 3 actions. So, if your starting pool size is 5, you could choose 3 or 4 die and roll those. And so, if you only roll 2 successes, then you would run across the run across the room, dive behind cover, but you wouldn't throw the grenade. If you get 3 successes, then you score all 3, etc. Right, and then ammunition pool. Sorry, then the ammunition pool is very similar in the sense that you've got a firearm, it's got a capacity, and you roll as many or as few die from your ammunition pool as you want. Of course, depending on whether your firearm is single action, semi-automatic or automatic, and for each success that you roll, you score a hit against it. Now that's kind of like the really high level sort of pitch for the core mechanics, because there's a lot that you can do with those dice pools. As you spend die, they eventually end up in a reserve, and so your pools are actually diminishing over time, and then eventually you have to replenish them either by taking a breather or reloading, etc. But that's like kind of more low level.
Yeah, so the major thing that stood out to me as a player when we played at PAX Unplugged was that every time you make a decision, there's a lot of weight to it, because for every die that you choose to roll, so every d6 that you choose to add to this attempt, right, it's going to A, give you a better chance at succeeding, but B, it also adds a bigger risk of losing more resource die. So that back and forth risk reward really adds to that flavor that you've been working on. And that, I have to say, is my favorite part of this system that really got me so excited about it. Because I feel so often, especially in the indie TTRPG space, it's a lot of like old school D&D clones or derivatives. So the system itself isn't really innovating. It's more the flavor or the vibe of the setting or the book itself. But I think Dirtbags has really done a great job in creating a more innovative system that assists this flavor. So if you guys want to take a break from D&D or Pathfinder or whatever your main game is, and you want something refreshing and new, something like Dirtbags is definitely a great option. And if you're into like everyone's into rolling a lot of dice, it gave me kind of like a Warhammer vibe too, or like a war gaming vibe, where you get to pick up a big handful of d6s and chuck it on the table. Yeah. Let's see, 1 second. Yeah, so DM Tales says Jean-Luc's a little echoey. Yeah, we were tweaking with the audio, but I think we're gonna have to roll with what we got. I hope it's not too distracting. Anna says sounds super fun. I can already imagine someone using a copy machine, tuning it and having it attack someone. Very dystopian. And Chaos Conclave says the dice pool system sounds like something you can get behind. Dope. Yeah, man, we got to run this sometime. Chaos Conclave, Jean-Luc, he's in Tokyo and he's my good buddy. He's actually from the Runehammer community, so maybe we can play sometime.
Maybe when I come out in June, we can find some time.
Yeah, man, exclusive reveal right there. Jean-Luc's headed to Japan in June.
Maybe it's a work thing, so we'll
maybe
see if the work can make it happen.
Everybody send emails to Jean-Luc's boss. I watched the live play of it with the other group. I can't wait to get my hands on it, says Trader. Fantastic. Well, Trader, you don't have to wait long. In fact, we're gonna get to designing here. So we have this collab board here, which, speaking of work in corporate environments, this does kind of remind me of being at the office as someone in the marketing industry.
Yeah.
So like Jean-Luc said at the start of the stream, we're doing this collab dungeon between 3 different YouTube channels. And we are the middle child of the streams, which is great. But what we need to do, chat, what our task is today is to basically get this design, pick it up from where they left off with Wes, and then get it to a point where Jean-Luc can finish it with Hex Press. So I think the best way to go about this is, Jean-Luc, if you can kind of walk us through what we've got so far, and then
Yep.
everyone watching, let's start thinking, let's start getting our brain juices flowing about how we can kind of like solidify what we already have and then tee up Jean-Luc and Hexpress for the finish line.
Heck yeah. Okay. So, hanging out with Wes's audience was a lot of fun, and they had a lot of really interesting ideas. So, the environment that we ultimately selected was a swamp. And the location is this ziggurat. It's being run by an ancient culture that sort of is no longer alive. So if you can imagine that this place is almost like mechanically like has been automated in some fashion. And its purpose was ultimately first the culture was sort of into like blood sacrifices and healing magic, if you will. Dog dropped his toy here. Healing magic. We say magic here, but it's really, if you can imagine that it's more of a science fiction based compounds, medicine, etc. And that there is a sort of disease or parasite that, when infected, causes PCs to slowly turn into plants. And then the plants, once they turn into plants, the PCs, essentially the plants produce those healing compounds inside of this thing. And then, you can imagine that this ancient culture would have been sacrificing, humans and other living creatures in this monument to grow plants. It's kind of got that, I think, Ender's Game-esque. Maybe not Ender's Game, but there's the books that followed it. With the pigmen and stuff like that. Anyway, I won't get into it, but it's kind of got that vibe. And then, so mechanically, we think that the dungeon is trying to sap the PC's ability scores, because there's a disease, and the lower their ability scores, the more difficult it will be to resist the poison or the disease, and then you would succumb to the parasite, the disease, etc.
Right on.
There's kind of a gimmick slash clock whereby, upon entering the ziggurat, the door slams shut behind you, and then there is water that begins to rise, kind of forcing the players into the higher levels of the dungeon. For what purpose, we'll find out, because as you'll see here, we still don't know why we were sent here, right? So there's a couple things I think we could explore, why we're sent here, and what's on the second floor, where are we heading. We've got a rough idea. I think we mapped out maybe like some 15 rooms, but I think for the sake of what we're trying to accomplish, maybe that we can kind of cut that down to say 10 rooms, and if we've got time to do another 5, I think we could do that. But I can turn it over to you if you want to kind of cover room 1, or floor 1, or what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is it's a great little overview of what we got going here. I definitely think it would help to start thinking about why we were sent here. But like you said, I believe the main goal is to kind of shore up floor 1, correct?
So by shore up, you mean start fleshing it out, or do you mean jumping straight to floor 2?
Okay. I guess in my head we need to really kind of tighten up floor 1 before we get into floor 2. But if you want to go right to floor 2, we can do that.
No,
well.
it's whatever the audience wants. So
yeah.
I'm all for one or the other.
Okay, well, we've got BGD here in the chat. What's going on, man? Thanks for joining us. All right, guys.
Nice.
So what are we thinking? I think right off the bat, I do wonder like why we were sent here. And for me, that will help with the ideation process of getting into floor 1. DMTail says murder ziggurat. Of course, that is a logical conclusion. But so are we like invading this planet, or is it something that I'm thinking. So again, I keep coming from this from more of like a almost like a Suicide Squad's perspective. So as dirtbags, we are given the mission, right? So we want to like prevent the spread. I'm almost thinking it's like what is that? The like the weed killer spray. You know what I mean? Like you have to like spray your patio so the weeds don't like crawl
Like
up on your.
raid or whatever,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
it's
So it's
a
like a ziggurat.
pesticide.
It's like a ziggurat raid, you know? Is this like a foreign planet, or is this something that is on Earth?
Probably a foreign planet. I imagine if it's an ancient culture,
Right.
perhaps, like they detected, signs of life, like biomatter, and then they sent us down to explore. Once they discovered, maybe the outline of what looked like, man-made, architecture, or something, kind of along those lines.
Mm.
Um, they may even already know what's there, right? Essentially, if maybe the corporate echelon or the military foundation is looking to get their hands on some of the plants. Or maybe even the disease that can cause people to become plants because they will create those, kind of healing compounds, right? Maybe those compounds could act almost as like the spice, like in Dune. Maybe this is like something that could like change yeah, just change the way that pharmaceuticals or something like that maybe could help produce energizers,
Yeah.
etc.
I really like the idea of there being kind of like a double purpose to it. So maybe the dirtbags are sent there um not only to like to two main purposes, right? Maybe to get to the root get to the root of the issue, right? Harvest a plant for like sampling to bring it back, but then also to try to exterminate the planet from kind of the inside out, which also makes me wonder, you know, we say there's like a plant pod incubation room, but is there like a giant mother plant? Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but I don't know. I'm kind of keen. I like the idea when the quest giver gives the party a specific goal, but then there's also kind of like an ulterior motive. I think that's always kind of fun.
Yeah, I suspect that, I mean, the ulterior motive is probably to become infected with this disease and then come back, right? So that they
Ah,
can
yeah.
harvest you.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Okay, so do we think that the dirtbags should be tasked with like extermination, or it's more just like harvest samples?
that's a good question. I don't know what folks in the chat think. I'm
Yeah,
up
what
for
are we
either.
thinking,
I think
guys?
that maybe like harvesting a bunch of plants and exterminating could be great. Like we could hook them up with flamethrowers to just start burning everything. Um,
Yeah, because I feel like the encouragement of destruction is a good way to create chaos. So maybe
I
like
totally agree.
yeah, harvest what you can and then destroy the rest. I feel, maybe we can roll with that for right now.
Harvest what you can, destroy the rest.
Yeah, Trader says
I
I
love
would
that.
say both. Okay. So, let's put ourselves in the headspace here, guys. We are these dirtbags, these convicted felons, if you will, blasted off to this what do we call this ziggurat planet with the mission to harvest and destroy these weeds. It's a raid. It's a ziggurat raid. Chris mentioned that it's called raid, the weed killer. Anna says harvest and make sure no one else can get to it after that. Yeah, exactly.
Like the way you're thinking.
Exactly. So maybe if there are multiple different types of plant species on the planet, like we have that intel, the dirtbags can be told the goal is to harvest a sample of one of each or at least multiple different kinds, which might prevent the desire to just run in, grab something, and turn around and run out. So we want to like give the party motivation to push all the way into the dungeon. That's
Yeah.
something that I had that's top of my mind as well. Okay, So this is floor one, and this has already been relatively fleshed out on Wes's stream. But I
Yep.
think speaking with Jean-Luc, what we want to do here is kind of shore this up, make this feel a bit more solid, and then maybe if we have time, we can create a segue from floor one into floor two, um, and then see what you guys can cook up on with Hex Press. So,
Yeah. So just as an FYI, we have like I think we had one, two, three, four, five floors planned.
oh
So
yeah, true,
we
true,
gotta
true.
we probably want to cut that down to like 3 floors
Yeah,
and 10 rooms.
yeah, I
So
agree. I mean, a five floor dungeon is quite large if they all have multiple rooms
yeah,
anyway.
for I mean, yeah, if we've got 15 rooms, yeah. So I think cutting it down, I think, is probably one of the safest things we can do.
Yeah,
That's why, if we want to shore up floor one, we could maybe spend like, maybe 5 to 15 minutes on it, and then I would say
sure.
we probably want to go to floor two, and then maybe see what we could do to kind of like tie those two floors together.
Yeah, 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 that makes perfect sense. So with this map here, visually, are we thinking the idea is that the players, the dirtbags, if you will, can enter from any of these four, and then the treasure room is in the center,
So we're
or is
actually
the
entering from, I'll
ossuary?
say, yeah, we entered from the ossuary.
Right.
So I'll say, entrance. I'll just rename that.
Trader says, did I
Yeah.
mention I'm wearing a gas mask so I don't get spores in my lungs and have lab rats cutting on me later? Uh, I didn't, but that sounds like a good idea. I'm glad you're prepared. Um, okay, so the ossuary. Um, what is the so what is like the visual vibe? All we have right now is filled with frog bones, which sounds very ominous. Um, so I'm assuming this means that there's going to be some sort of like froggy enemies as we move forward into the dungeon. Um, I feel like too
Certainly could.
a good entrance needs to, at least I feel a good entrance should really tease what's to come throughout the
Yeah,
rest of the dungeon. So I would say filled with frog bones. Maybe what I'm seeing too is kind of like these vines or roots growing up
I
around
love
the
that.
walls.
Yep. Are they
And
are they
then
living vines? Kind of like the ones you found in Jumanji. Like
exactly, I would say they almost like pulse. Maybe like pulse isn't quite the right word, but they
I love
don't. They
that.
have life to them. You know. What
Yeah,
are
yeah,
we
yeah.
thinking, chat? I know Jean-Luc or someone I think mentioned something about spores. Traders wearing a gas mask here. So maybe there's like a light, not mist, but a light presence of spores kind of, uh, what's the
Almost
word?
like there's like pollen. Maybe like there's
Yeah,
like a sting of pollen in the air or something like that.
exactly,
So
exactly.
oh, they throb,
They
pulsing,
throb, exactly.
throbbing, living vines. I love that. And we said like kind of like it's musty. There's pollen in the air.
Yep. And then I feel like too, since there's multiple ways that you can go from here, maybe the roots or the vines are coming more prominently from one direction, like the spore room. So we have the spore room right here. Or maybe there's like some sort of vents or some indication that the spores are flowing from this room over here.
Oh, I like that. So I'll say that the pollen is maybe it's like floating on a draft. Kind of coming from the spore room.
Exactly.
And I think who was it? I think it was Trader who mentioned a carnivorous plant trying to eat us. I mean, what I think. Could you imagine if those pulsing, throbbing vines could grab you? I wouldn't maybe necessarily put the carnivorous plant in this room, but if you
Right.
get grabbed by the vines, it pulls you into the
Yeah.
treasure room and then tries to eat you there,
Like
perhaps.
right off the
So
bat.
right out of the gate, you just get pulled into the dungeon, prompting the players to kind of go right in, not realizing that as soon as you enter the treasure room, that the door will slam behind you.
Right on. That could also be, so the frog bones could be, I guess, like prey for the flesh-eating plant as well. Maybe we can say like after a certain amount of time, in the first room, a frog kind of comes like desperately leaping out of the treasure room. or something
Oh, I
like
love
that.
that.
Or maybe
I
there's
love
even
that.
like a little
Yeah.
frog stampede as they're trying to like get away from the
Let's
get
do it.
away
If the
from
frog
the.
stampede comes bounding out of the treasure room.
I think can we? Yeah. I'm just gonna move that card up a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I mean, I feel like already we've got a little bit more life to the ossuary. And I know
Oh
we
yeah.
want to keep moving. This kind of reminds me, it's like a throwback to my original streams trying to do a whole dungeon in an hour. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah,
seriously.
real quick, let's follow up the treasure room thread, I think, in the first
Yep.
room here. So we're talking about like a giant, I believe, yeah, Trader said like a Venus flytrap. Anna says, yeah, just that they are aware of everyone who's in the dungeon, so it's one giant system. So whoever is wearing the red shirt walks through first. Yeah. So yeah, but I like Anna's idea as well that it's kind of like a hive mind, maybe. The plants are all
Yes.
like connected. Um,
Yeah,
this is
I
something
agree.
that I've a trope that I've used in my homebrew D&D campaign. The name is eluding me right now, but I know in like rainforests and just forest systems in general, there's like uh, a fungal kind of like network underground,
Yep.
and trees kind of like talk to each other through the roots. So kind of like playing through that or playing on that would be cool. So door slam shut upon entering. What I'm thinking is the Venus flytrap's roots or tendrils or vines are kind of like sensitive. And so when prey, like frogs or whatever, come through, it slams shut. So there's like a biological justification for that happening.
I love that.
Um, yeah, maybe rather than, I mean, it's a classic trope that the door slams shut, but to
Sure.
give it some sort of a tangible reason to do so. Two doors, one opens, the other's trapped. Both activate the water trap. It does seem like we've
Yeah,
got
this
like a lot going on here, so maybe we need to kind of decide. We need to commit.
100%.
Um, if we're rolling with the Venus flytrap thing, I'm not sure what the water trap angle was, but it sounds like maybe something we can save for maybe floor two
So
or
so
another
you'll
room.
remember that there's the water is going to fill the ziggurat,
Oh, right,
forcing the players up through the floors. That's kind of
right,
like the main theme, right? It's
right.
supposed to be like a water themed ziggurat.
Oh, right. Okay, I got you. I was so caught up in the Venus flytrap thing.
You're good.
But so both activate the water trap. So what is
Yeah.
the mechanical justification? We can get chat involved here too. But let's think about what the mechanical justification of the doors operating the water trap. Because that's something that's kind of puzzles me at first thought. And then also the Venus flytrap. Do we want to like flesh out how the Venus
I was
flytrap works?
West just read my mind. It doesn't have to be water, it's digestive juices. The entire
Oh
ziggurat
yeah,
is the
Wes.
the the carnivorous plant, right?
Yes,
Essentially.
absolutely. Maybe it has like a very like sweet smell, you know?
Yep.
Um,
Almost like a like nectar, but it's
yeah,
caustic and like
yeah.
burns your eyes.
Or maybe even too with the frog thing, perhaps like you can narrate or write in there that a frog like jumps into the pool and then it kind of goes like, and it gets like bubbled up
Sure.
and digested. Um, Chaos Conclave says it's thick with bugs, swarms of flies, all of these drawn to the smell of something sweet. Yeah, frog snacks. So exactly, Chaos Conclave was also on the same track as we are. One door has a puzzle while the other does not. Harder the path is beyond the puzzle door. Skill on the doors.
So I'm going to say that
Yeah,
so that there are two doors, right, to the diorama room and the spore room. It says one, yeah, one. I'm going to say that um, both activate the digestive juices to start rising. I
right.
think that once you leave the treasure room to access either the spore room or the diorama, that's when the digestive juices start to maybe secrete from the walls, and kind of start to flow.
I totally agree. I don't think there's a need to overcomplicate it beyond that. Um, and so we have a chance for the carnivorous plant to grab a PC and pull them right into the treasure room.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I'm thinking here is that this is called the treasure room, but what's the
There's
treasure?
what's the treasure? Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So if there's an immediate treasure room and there's this kind of very difficult encounter in front of it, I feel like we need to have some significant reward for getting through it, that could help the players out in the rooms to come. So what I'm thinking is, what if like other dirtbags were here and they didn't make it past the
I
treasure
love
room.
that. So there's just like a pile of like skeletons and
Yeah,
like burned out
exactly.
gear.
And you had mentioned flamethrowers, and
Yeah, let's throw a flamethrower in there.
maybe there's a flamethrower and it's like
I love
connected
that.
to
Yeah,
a
let's do that.
big gas canister, and if you can get around the flesh-eating plant and get through the treasure room, that's like your big reward.
Cool. So we'll say treasure is piles. Yeah, so let's just say there is a pile of burned out dirtbag skeletons. There's a flame thrower among them with maybe say two canisters of fuel.
Exactly. Perfect. All right. I don't know if we want to get super in the weeds of like designing the boss encounter itself beyond that. I know we've got a lot to get through today.
Yeah. It may not. It may even be. I'm not sure. Do we want to put a carnivorous plant here? I guess I was because that's what we discussed that. But given that the entire diorama, or sorry, the entire ziggurat is intended to be the plant itself.
Exactly.
I'm not sure if it really belongs here. Like maybe
Yeah,
we
this
could
is
put other
just
carnivorous plants that come up. Like that. But outside of that, I'm not sure we need to put like an encounter right in that room.
no, I totally agree. I think it works. And it's literally evolving as we work on it. But I
Yeah.
think it's a fun way to get players right into the action. No pun intended. And it's more like, rather than the plant itself, this is kind of like the throat or just the initial trap, right?
That's right.
Okay, and then from there, we're thinking there's two tunnels or entrances that go either to the spore room or the
Yeah.
diorama room.
That's right. Yeah. So there'll be doors, quote unquote, leading to both of those.
Doors.
So I would say let's not worry. One of those doors is supposed to be puzzle. Like there's supposed to be a puzzle
Yeah,
to unlock one of the
yeah,
doors. I'm not gonna for now. I would say I'm not gonna say we're removing the puzzle. I'm just gonna say let's not worry about the puzzle.
yeah.
And we
I
can just
agree.
start fleshing out those rooms a little more. So you want to start with the spore room or the diorama room?
Let's see what chat says real quick. Anna says this is really cool, but it really irks. I guess like gives her the irks. I understand. That's what we're all about. Trader says, what if the NPC dirtbags are being controlled on a symbolic level as ads in a boss fight, like as an addition in the boss fight, or like as ads like in World of Warcraft terminology in the boss fight? I agree. Some sort of mind control or like symbiotic influence would be cool at some point. Could the different doors opening and shutting be water locks that raise the waters? Yeah, says Chaos Conclave. That's something that we can consider as well. Spore room or diorama room? Totoro says spore. I'm also drawn to the spores. So let's keep
Let's
moving.
do it.
So thick it moves like water. Hallucinating effects.
That is to say that there's so many spores or pollen that it flows along the floor.
Right.
I suspect something like that, right?
I'm also thinking, now that we're thinking about this, the entire ziggurat being this like living symbiotic being, these are almost like organs or like individual parts of
Sure.
a living whole. So the spore room, immediately what I'm thinking is like it's full of flowers, or it is like one big flower or something like that.
Yeah, we can say that.
Trader says yes, spore. Oh, so yeah,
Yeah,
go for it.
yeah. I like the idea of just having it filled with flowers and like which are kind of like letting off like thick plumes of spores or pollen. I think that would be perfect.
Yep. And then the hallucinating effects is an obvious choice I like. DM Tales, Wes says, so previous dirtbags show up as part plants under the control of the system, oh yes. That is something that I kind of had in mind that maybe we could tease in a deeper
Yep.
floor. And then Trader said if any of the spores are in the air, it would look hazy. Yeah, exactly. Um,
Exactly.
so the spore room, we need to deliver some sort of like information, or I think the players need to get something out of being here, whether it's just simply learning that the spores can infect you, um, or
Sure.
there's something else. But maybe if you don't have a gas mask, or if your gas mask was ruined in the first encounter, the dirtbags have a chance of getting infected
Yeah.
with
Do
this.
you think that the spores is what causes the infection, and uh, and ultimately turning into plants? Could you imagine? Is that kind of the vibe?
That's definitely the vibe I was getting at. I feel like too the other
Right.
encounters, the vines or any other interactions with the plant enemies, they could be constantly trying to like rip off their mask or break the gear to like penetrate the barrier between the fresh air and the spores, So the plants have a level of sentience about wanting to infect humans that way. See, yeah, Jean Luc's just
Yeah, I'm just gonna
throwing
say
up a
that they're
little
doing
note
it
over here.
as part of the mission here, right? Because I love the idea of yeah, like plants, people try to rip the mask off. I love that. Just
Yeah,
making a note here for us.
absolutely.
So breathing in the spores, can cause this sort of infection, which turns players into plants. I think eventually what we'll probably need to do is to maybe just like define the disease, parasite again. I think I had that somewhere here, but I think while I was cleaning things up, I may have removed it. So we can kind of re-add that here eventually. I'll just move this over.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I mean, I feel like for right now, that's already pretty good for the spore room.
Heck yeah.
But for the spore infection itself, on that note, do we want to think about? I know we're thinking about timers and things like that. Like, how do we measure how long it takes to fully succumb to the influence of the spores?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think it could be a number of different things. In the game, players often will have to do one of a few things to replenish their die, and so it could be that it comes up when a player either takes a breather or exerts themselves.
Right.
So that's an option. That's one way to kind of like increment the clock. It could be time, like either real time or in-game time. It could be up to the GM's discretion. Could be based on their HP, right? So as their HP reduces over time, that it becomes harder and harder to fight this thing, or maybe their ability scores. A bunch of different options.
I can hear Moon going zoomy mode in the background.
Yeah, he's
Um,
going crazy in the background.
for me personally, because it's like a physical affliction, I like the idea of every time you exert yourself, maybe like you go one step closer, and if you exert yourself 3 times, you succumb, something like that, because that also adds
Let's
to
do
the
it.
risk reward of exertion. So maybe we can throw that up
So
here.
yeah, I'll add that right here. I'll just say so. Every time a player or dirtbag exerts themselves, the disease progresses.
Also, I just gotta say, I'm really proud of my not at all grimdark fiance throwing out in the spore room. There's a log or mossy mound that, upon further investigation, is actually a human body almost fully transformed. And I think that is
I love
badass
that.
and such a good
I love
idea.
that.
I don't know if you've
Where
ever
is that?
seen the movie on Netflix, Annihilation, but I'm a big fan of
No,
that movie and it gives me hardcore Annihilation vibes. Oh, you should check it out, man. Um,
I will
but yeah,
absolutely. Mossy log that ends up uh, being a almost fully transformed or metamorphosized. I don't know. Transformed
Yeah.
dirtbag. That's fine.
I mean, we can clean it up in post, but can you
Yeah,
imagine being
we'll
like, imagine being the player that gets their gas mask ripped off in the first encounter, and then you're poking around in here and you see this guy almost like stuck to the wall or like wrapped up on the ground, and you can see his face turning more plant-like. That would
yeah.
be terrifying. Okay. Um, and
Diorama
then
room.
that also
Let's go.
teases the mechanical effects of the spores. Okay, so diorama room. Let's do something about the diorama room real quick, and then it sounds like the incubation room is what's going to take us to room two.
Yep.
Um, so telegraphs some important information related to the boss or shows what it is. So this kind of changes things now that we've decided that the ziggurat itself is kind of like a living thing.
Sure.
However,
So I think I'm not. So I'm not sure if that. So I want to be clear. I'm not sure if the ziggurat itself is living.
okay,
Almost as if this plant creature has perhaps taken over the
right,
ziggurat.
right,
Long after the sort of ancient culture has left. So I could imagine that there are still elements of this ancient culture that built the ziggurat
right.
that could be like tied, like, so for instance, like almost like Prometheus, when they eventually break into the room, that and there's that giant telescope that hasn't been seen, it's covered in dust and for ages. Like,
Right.
I imagine that, for instance, like, you might find information here about like, maybe this is like an ancient like in the Arctic, there's like that seed
Yeah.
um like vault.
Yeah.
Like, maybe this was like a seed vault that, like, but the planet overheated, and so suddenly, like, it unleashed like one of the seeds, right? So you could have information here that kind of talks about like, it could be like a holographic like archive, and there's like someone there that could tell you about like what this building was, and now it's
Yup.
completely different because it's like this used to be like an ice planet, but like global warming has caused some of the seeds
Yeah.
to actually bloom and grow.
Boom. I love that. I see what you mean. So it's like nature reclaims the ziggurat, or nature like retakes the
Yeah,
ziggurat.
exactly.
I love the idea that maybe like if you poke around or you hit like a weird almost Aztec looking rune button or something, this sprawling hologram kind of shoots out that gives you an idea of the structure of the ziggurat itself.
Yeah. So a button that can display like a holographic diagram of the ziggurat. That's all right.
Yeah, no, it's dude, I misspell things on stream all the time. It's like stream brain.
Yeah,
You're doing all the typing too, by the way, which I appreciate. It helps me keep an eye on chat.
yeah, no, you're doing great. That way you can
Um,
focus on the chat. Yeah, so a button that can display a holographic diagram of the ziggurat. Maybe some exposition on the purpose of the settlement by the ancient culture. Um,
exactly.
and we said maybe that it's an ancient plant slash seed vault. The planet used to be icy. Now it is tropical.
Perfect.
And so maybe that's what you're sent to collect. Like, you've been sent to this
Exactly.
planet to go and collect like the seeds that were kept here, right? But
Exactly.
the corporate echelon wouldn't have realized that, like, this whole thing is just like become tropical and kind of insanity.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Since the original or the inciting mission is to collect this sample, you want to encourage when the dirtbags get to this room and see that, that's like the bingo moment, or like that's where we need to go.
Yeah,
But then it's also exactly where the now reclaimed ziggurat plant thing wants you. You know what I mean? So
love
it's
it.
kind of encouraging you to go into the mouth of the beast. Okay. Yeah, maybe we can just move that card like under floor to like there. Is that okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. I think I'm just going to array floor two, and then we can just
There you
rewrite that
go. Yeah.
sometime here.
Okay. So, yeah. Oh yeah, that's true because this is still a part of floor one. All right. So plant pod
Cool.
incubation room. So this is what is going to connect us down into room two. And then
Yeah,
I think if we can go for maybe like another hour to get room 2 fleshed out, or we'll see how we're feeling. But
sure. Yeah, I've got time.
yeah, at the hour we might take a quick fiver and then keep going. Um,
Sounds good.
okay, so plant pod incubation room. 2 staircases leading to the second floor, easy and a hard path. Pods with plant people inside burst when the water gets to a certain level, unleashing them. That's interesting. Once PCs travel up to the second floor, they can't go back down. Narratively, water floods this level. Yeah. So again, we're thinking vertically. So rather than a dungeon delve going down, this is like a dungeon
This is done. Yeah, going.
ascent.
Yeah, ascend. Yeah.
So pods with plant people inside burst when the digestive juices get to a certain level. This could be the first big tease about, or like the first reveal of the dirtbags that have been.
I think there should be an encounter. I think
Yeah,
you should probably have to fight those plant people,
absolutely.
and they're like dirt bags that have been transformed and incubated, basically.
Right. And so they can be teased up at the spore room, but when you get to the incubation room, this is where they really come out to play.
Yeah.
So, um, if it's so the incubation room and it's going up. So is this kind of, are we thinking it kind of funnels up? Well, obviously the way this is set up, kind of all paths will lead here. Um, so maybe the dirt bags that are being transformed, they get put in these like sacks almost like cocoons that are kind of lining the walls that like spiral up.
I love that. Yeah. So we'll say, dirt bags and cocoons. Kind of like attached to the walls. Spiraling up.
And then I'm thinking too, like maybe I think whether or not the digestive juices are going, they should probably come out, right? I mean, that's my thought process. Like if the juices are flowing, that would make things even more difficult.
More difficult, but I agree. Now that I see, if it was just water, I think it's fine because we could have
Right.
the water rise quicker. But if it's just the juices, like that's gonna be like burning your boots, your
Exactly.
gear. So I would say that they probably come out anyway, and that the digestive juices now is really more of like an environmental effect that could just make the matter.
Right. Absolutely. And maybe it's again because we were talking about. I feel like I like the idea that the vines or the roots are kind of like motion sensitive, so they're almost like triggered, like a wire trap. So when they sense like the vibration or the dirt bags kind of stomping by, that like awakens these infected dirtbag plant zombie guys, and they kind of burst out from their cocoons.
Cause the we'll call them dirtbag plant zombies
Yeah,
to come bounding out of their
exactly.
pods.
And I'm thinking as well, like their whole thing should always be trying to like rip at their faces or expose
Yeah,
their
100%. Or
mouth
maybe
and
like maybe
nose.
they're trying to like maybe they got like vines for hands and they're trying to like shove them down your throat. So they're yeah, I agree. Like they're
Yeah,
trying. We'll say the zombies try to remove the player's masks.
right on. Okay, and then here we have once PCs travel up to the second floor, they can't get back down narratively. Yeah. So, um, so are we thinking like no matter what, the digestive juices have to get triggered? Like, because what if they don't? Is what's coming in my mind.
I think that they do no matter what.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. Okay. And then so basically the digestive juices flow up and yeah, there's no coming back. And
I love it.
then yeah. Secret entrance. Okay, so for floor 2, we've got nothing, right?
Yeah, well, we've got so I think I forget who, but I think it was someone from the chat suggested that we have a secret entrance somewhere in the second floor that maybe
Mm,
leads to the third or but secret entrances they're amazing. Like we gotta have them. So
absolutely.
it's just a note that's sitting there as a reminder that we want a secret entrance, but we've got nothing.
Right.
At least for me, like I like to think that maybe the second floor um maybe kind of allows us to explore some of this ancient culture's technology a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that would be super interesting to start going into like wet labs or like kind of different kinds of systems that they might use for like cataloging and doing all sorts of these things like with the seeds, and maybe kind of tease some of that stuff as well. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
just that's just what comes to mind. Obviously, I want to hear from the chat and I want to hear from you what you guys think.
Yeah, so Anna says, my question about the juice then would be, did other people trigger it before? Is it something that specifically happened in this party? So I think the idea, Anna, is the treasure room is basically what triggers the juice to start pooling up. So it's a mechanism of digesting the prey, because the other dirtbags wouldn't be where they are if they also triggered the same thing and were forced into the second room. Yeah. So my idea with that is basically like the other dirtbags that succumbed to the oh, I guess I see what you're saying, because the treasure room, there's like left behind
Yeah.
weapons and
It could
things.
just
Maybe
be
it
that
just drains.
the dirtbags in the treasure room weren't digested. They were just, choked out by the vines, right? Like they didn't even trigger the digestive juices because the vines is what got them.
Exactly. Or we could say as well, I was thinking that it like drains back down, after a
Oh yeah,
certain amount
even
of
that,
time.
yeah, absolutely, yeah,
So it fills up and then drains down and fills up, and that's kind of how this giant plant thing digests its prey. Um,
love it.
all right. I do really like the idea that the second one we get a little bit more like science fantasy, like a little bit more weird
Let's do
with
it.
it. So coming, so the bottom floor, the first floor is very much natural and plant-like. So the segue between that, if we want to, sorry for boring logical questions, haha, no problem, no need to
No, no,
apologize.
they're not boring. It's important.
Totoro says, yes, love weird technology, ancient but also weirdly high tech at the same time. Yeah, exactly. So
Exactly.
maybe as like a transitionary period, we said that there's like doors to the treasure room, but I'm thinking for this one, there's like an actual mechanical element. And I don't know if we want to make that a puzzle or what, but I think we need the actual entrance into the second floor needs to feel very
I like
tech.
the idea of having it be a puzzle, and I think it should probably be like, uh, the kind of the secret access that actually leads to the vault.
Right.
So like this ancient culture would have like had to punch in a code or put in turn a sequence of knobs. You have to sort of extract some sort of information about this floor in order to get past like the sliding doors, so to speak.
Yeah, straight on, straight up. I am horrible at puzzles and designing puzzles. So I think we could, but I like that idea. So we could leave a footnote for
I
that
don't think
as,
we can make it complicated. I think we could
yeah,
probably just say that like it's a vault door, and it could just
exactly.
be that like you have to like solve like one room at a time, and eventually it will turn clockwise or counterclockwise until you like get to like the elevator or something like that.
Oh, so almost
So
like the whole floor itself is like the puzzle.
correct,
Yeah.
yeah. So like for instance, like you cause the room to turn,
Yeah.
and then you would get access to another room, and then
Yeah.
you do something there, turns, get access to another room, and then one more thing, and then it kind of turns and you get access to an elevator. So you would essentially uh, start in this room here in the middle, which
Yeah.
is just like the we'll call this the axis of rotation, um,
Perfect.
and it's just like kind of like room one, room two, and room three, and so it just room three, and so you're trying to get it, and then room three is really just like an elevator to
Yeah.
or something like that to the third floor. And so you really just need to solve, for what's in room one and room two, and then that will essentially, serve as like the actual lock. That's
Perfect.
one way. Again, this is just an idea. Doesn't have to be this way, right?
Yeah, no, I
If you
like
want to
it.
introduce more of a puzzle element, I think it could be a lot of fun.
Okay, so chat, I think let's kind of ideate what room one and room two could be, and then we'll take a quick fiver and we'll come back and we'll finish it up and then see if we can't get a segue going to room three for Hexpress and Jean Luc next time. For me, since we were talking about this being more of a representation of the culture that once was, something that immediately pops into my mind is like a kitchen, a common area, or some sort of abandoned living space. I love the idea, like I love kitchens in dungeons or like adventures because there's so much like potential chaos that can go down in a kitchen. Like there's so many like gadgets and devices and like opportunity for rotten food maybe that's been overgrown with fungal spores. um I don't know, or like a common area where these people gathered and hung out when they weren't working.
Yeah. Um, I'm realizing that this idea is incredibly difficult to to execute. It would have been so much simpler to just have this be like the living quarters and like the botany room and then like
Oh, like for the axis of rotation.
just the whole floor. Like,
Yeah.
making this entire thing a puzzle is just kind of like overkill.
Totoro
Research
says
lab,
research lab.
greenhouse,
Yeah.
high ritual space. I love
Yeah.
those. Those are fantastic ideas.
We can come back to the whole puzzle idea. Anna says like a giant fancy fireplace in the middle and a seating around it, some bottles that still lie area. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I think I mean I like the idea of this floor giving all sorts of like clues and just ideas about this how this society existed before it all went tits up. Um
I love the idea of a greenhouse. It kind of
exactly.
really, um, it could just be that the space has been overrun and is now essentially a greenhouse.
Right.
I could imagine that there are bugs or insects,
Yeah, that
like
have
giant
taken over.
mosquitoes, stuff like that. Like giant arachnids, um, more of these bots or more of these
This
pods.
And it's just, yeah, no need to apologize, Anna. I was also thinking because in my mind, at least, this is this kind of like self-contained thing, and we're starting from the bottom and we're going up. And typically, we think of like a greenhouse or plants needing light to live and
That's
thrive.
true.
But maybe like these plant, because this is like weird space plants, so maybe they're very
Yeah,
sensitive to light, and maybe they hate light. I don't know. Maybe
I
and
like
like
that.
maybe the
Turning it on its head. Yeah,
greenhouse.
maybe the light. Yeah, we kind of said that it was a kind of a yeah, it was a ritual. Yeah, we had talked about it, the kind of blood sacrifices, a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. I feel like we're kind of deviating from that, and I don't think that that's a problem. Like,
Yeah,
I
not
don't think that that's an
necessarily.
issue. That was
Yeah.
so, but I do like, um, because I was thinking that like maybe this floor acts as kind of like the gateway, between like the first floor and like the vault itself, like
Yeah.
and so um I'm not sure. I'm just not sure how we could translate that. Like, yeah, maybe there's a like a ritual space, but if they were like high tech too, then like a research lab I think makes sense. The greenhouse, it could be any and all of that. Um, I like the idea of a kind of a common area,
Yeah.
but I'm not sure if it like fits like yeah, I'm not sure if the vault here was here like if it was just like set and forget, or if there were people like living here and kind of like tending to the vault,
Right.
either.
I feel like if
I
we
think those
have
are all
like a
kinds of questions we need to answer.
yeah, I mean for me I feel like if we have a ritualistic space, it seems like that would almost be maybe something that is in room 3 or like that is what like contributed to the big inciting
Yeah, I like
incident.
that. I think that makes sense.
It's
Maybe
like an
like
eldritch plant god.
yeah, I agree. Ritual. I'll put that in room three. In your ritual space. Maybe you have to perform a ritual. Maybe dump some blood or something like that in order to get to the vault or something like that. Like that could be pretty straightforward.
And maybe these
Um,
are like kind of like future space monks, like plant monks. So it's not like the entire society lived here, but there's like a sect of monks
sure.
that tended to the plants. So one of the rooms too could be like this pseudo green room, where they tended to them and they created seedlings or tended to the seedlings like a
I
nursery.
don't mind that. Like a seedling room or something like that.
Yeah, like a nursery.
Yeah, seedling. Nursery room. I like that. Um, I don't think I'm not sure that's the first thing that they'll see. I
Yeah,
suspect that like you have to go through like maybe like almost like the lobby, you know, like you've got to
yeah.
go through like you know the lobby before getting to the nursery. Um,
So yeah, like when they're coming in, well, they got to
do they
get
want to
through.
have seedling room and research lab and then like ritual space?
Yeah, I mean, I think that totally works.
Or it could even or it could just be a common space. Like it doesn't have to necessarily be a ritual space either, right? Like that makes
Yeah,
sense too. Yeah.
exactly. I mean, I'm thinking of like what is it called? Like a monastery kind of vibe almost, because the
Oh yeah.
people that
Okay.
tended to the people that tended to the plants and things here had to have had somewhere where they can eat and sleep and whatnot. Um, and then they kind of like link together. Maybe if we're not necessarily going for the puzzle thing, but it kind of connects the dots of what was going on here a bit deeper. And then that leads
Yeah.
to the third floor, which is where this like horrific creature has fully blossomed.
Yeah. I like the idea of having a research lab too, and even like a nursery, because I think that we can add some exposition in
Exactly.
both those to provide a little more context about like what this place is.
Totoro says, I like the idea of the room rotates though, and the dirtbags get access to different rooms by having to do or solve something in the axis.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Um, and I'm just
Let's,
it could just be a puzzle that causes the entire room to rotate. And I think that it doesn't have to be complicated, but if you want to take a
yeah.
fiver,
I
we
was
can come
gonna
back and
say, I
answer
think
it.
we're on a good spot. Let's take a 5 minute break. We can all kind of sit on it for a minute, and we'll come back in about 5 minutes, and we'll finish up room two
Sounds
or
good.
floor two, I should say.
It's a
All right,
five.
guys, hold tight. Alrighty, we're back. All right, just want to take a moment, thank everyone for participation. You're all awesome. Yeah, thanks, Sean. Thanks for being here. We'll give everybody a second
All
to
right.
funnel back. But on my journey, sorry, my carpet. I just got a new carpet, and I'm getting used to rolling my chair over it. It's a, it's a whole thing. Okay, while I took my journey to the John, I was thinking about some ways to tie everything together. And if we're really going for this kind of monastic, like monk culture that is tied to plants and like growth and planting and growing, I've got a little ditty for everybody. Back in the day, in my previous life as a chef or as a line cook in Philadelphia, I worked at a fancy restaurant where we had to tend to an herb garden. So it was like all the cooks had to
I
come in.
I hope you are thinking the same thing I'm thinking, by the way. But sorry,
We'll
I don't mean to
see.
interrupt. But
No, it's cool.
I want to write it down, but I don't want to.
Yeah.
Go.
So yeah, but basically all the cooks had to come in and tend to the herb garden on like a rotating basis. And I always think of this because one of my chefs used the herb garden, and teaching me how to plant herbs is like an analogy for self-improvement and like self-growth. And he basically explained to me that when I was planting these little seedlings, I wasn't giving them enough of like a foundation, right? So I was digging a shallow hole and I was plopping them in there, and I wasn't mounting enough dirt up around them, and they kept like the basil plants kept falling over. And so he was explaining to me, you have to dig a deeper hole, like you have to dig deeper, and then you have to build a stronger foundation around it, and then that will allow the plant to grow. And then he looked at me and he said, just like people, and like gave me like a little wink. And I was a much younger guy, and I was, learning and coming up in the industry. So that was like his analogy, and I always think about that. So I don't know if we're thinking, I don't if we're going on like a culinary direction, but my thought was that these plants, or that these priests, or this order kind of worships the idea of planting and growing. And so if we want to try to come up with a puzzle idea to get access between the floors, it could have to do with the concept of like digging the hole, planting the plant, something like that. And then that is what,
So,
yeah.
we almost came to the same idea, but
Okay.
from completely different directions.
Okay.
Um, I used to do a lot of hydroponics, growing hot peppers.
Mm.
And hydroponics generally requires you to have a solution of nutrients,
Mm-hmm.
that you mix into the water to provide your plants everything that they need during the different stages of growth, all the way through to fruiting, right? So there's this, you typically have like and there are three chemicals that you mix at different ratios, um, for, I say chemicals. It's a mix of compounds or products you can buy sort of off the shelf.
Right.
Like Flora Grow, Flora Micro, and Flora Bloom, and you would mix those in different ratios, at the different stages of a plant's life. To produce different effects, and I was thinking that, well, go figure. You got three chemicals that you mix, in different ways to produce different effects. I thought maybe that's what it was. Um, so you're saying digging, the growing and then harvesting. I'm saying, well, very similar things, but maybe we're mixing chemicals in order to rotate the rooms, causing a plant to grow. And when it reaches a different life or a span of its life, it's happening all in real time. Like the plant will
Exactly.
rotate, or the it'll rotate, something like that. I'm not sure how that would execute as a puzzle, but I think we're kind of on a similar path here.
Yeah, I just absolutely. I like the idea of that this monastic order, something like that. They worship the entire process of gardening and creating life, creating plant life. And then maybe, to a fervent degree, which ends up birthing this eldritch creature that now consumes them. So I don't know. Everybody else in the chat, what are we thinking? Um, I think this is like the danger, or at least when we're doing something like on live stream. Like I say, I get stream brain, and then you kind of have like a brain fart moment. So I think designing a more sophisticated puzzle takes like a lot of time and thought,
Oh
and it
yeah,
can
no,
it
but
can
I
be
don't think it should
hard.
be sophisticated. I really think it should just be like, if you press this button, the room rotates type thing, right? If you turn
Right,
this knob, then the plant grows, and you just have to make sure that you do like, it's just like you do a combination of steps in a specific order, and then
right.
there's, exposition or foreshadowing, um, you know, uh, like there's enough telegraphing to kind of or information within the rooms to tell you like the order in which you need to do things.
So stick with me. This was my whole idea with like my little chef ditty about planning the basil. So
Yeah.
like the order, and it could be very simple, right? Because the and it has to be very simple. But like the dirt bags are starting from the very bottom and going all the way up. And when a plant grows, like you have to give it a very solid foundation in order for it to grow up, right? So it could literally be like just pressing three buttons like one, two, three in an upward motion. And the research lab, the seedling nursery room, and the living space. I don't know. We can think about how, but basically what I was thinking is that like their prayer or like a chant or like a mantra that they have that we could tease throughout these rooms is all about like it starts at the very foundation and then it grows upward. And then we're also teasing like the theme of the dungeon starting at the bottom and going up and the ultimate payday being at the top. So just something about like building that solid foundation and then growing upward was
Mm-hmm.
my thought process.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Trader says, I like the idea of mixing stuff to spin the rooms. Chat really likes
Well,
the idea of spinning the rooms.
I know, I know.
Yeah, but
I
it's
should have
hard
said
to pull
anything.
off, guys. Yeah, it's hard to pull off. But if you have any ideas about how we could make that work, I would love to hear it. Um, Anna
So Anna
says,
says,
yeah,
yeah. Oh, go ahead, go ahead.
I would also enjoy a way of making an error, like mixing in something wrong. It won't destroy the puzzle or anything, but a feeling of, oh, I have to think about what I'm doing.
Yeah, I mean, and especially like if you think that like these like if the chemical just again kind of mulling over this chemical mixing, like if you do it wrong, you maybe make the boss plant or carnivorous plant stronger, right?
Right.
Like maybe you need to weaken the hold that the plant has on some of these rooms, and it will ultimately like release or
Mm.
let go of things, right? So we have to weaken it over time in order to access certain things.
Right.
Um, and so maybe like the first room is super easy. Like you just have to like, put one chemical in.
Right.
But then the second room is like you've got to mix three chemicals correctly. And
Right.
then the fourth room is so something like that, right? So
Yeah.
you make the first one super easy to try to get a bit more exposition. And then, but if you're kind of like not paying attention or don't care, and just want to go in guns a blazing, maybe you end up making the boss monster
Even
stronger.
worse. Yeah. So what
Yeah.
I'm thinking is I like that idea as well. Research lab is like the starter room. So research lab would be the easiest one to figure out because they kind of, it's the research lab and these people are long gone, but they've connected most of the dots here. The seedling nursery room, because there would be, I mean, I'm imagining there would be developed plants in here that would cause some issues. That would maybe be the harder one. And then the middle one, the a living space or the commons or whatever, I think would be a fun place to kind of lull the dirtbags into wanting to take a rest or take a breather or regroup. And then if they hang around for too long, something bad happens. That was my thought process.
Yeah, I'm with you. Do you want to stick then to? So maybe we don't rotate the room, but here's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I think that by the time we get to let's not call this the axis of rotation. Let's just call this,
Yeah.
like the antechamber.
Yep. Yeah.
And I think that there are three rooms connected to the antechamber, and the way that it works is that there are vines or roots covering the doorways to each of the rooms.
Right.
And that if you if you and you get access to the research lab by
Oh yeah.
they want us to switch to the
My bad.
we're still on the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thanks for the reminder.
uh yeah, that's great. um so yeah, so I think that the antechamber, maybe like we could make it super simple, that like maybe there are three um chemicals that you can adjust the levels of.
Right.
And what you really want is to get the first chemical up to a certain level, right? And so it doesn't there's nothing wrong happens if you increase or decrease the other two, or increase, or like you just got to get the first chemical to a certain threshold.
Right.
And then it stays, and then maybe it stays there.
Right.
And then in the research lab, that will maybe like unlock the research lab. And then if you go into the research lab, you can
Mm,
find out which of the chemicals you need to set next, and at
right.
which level. If you do that, it unlocks the seedling nursery, and then ultimately that gives you enough information to get access to the room 3. But if you just start
Yeah.
like flipping switches, then you're just making the boss monster stronger. I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
No, I really like that idea. I think we're getting there. It reminded me too. I was just playing World of Warcraft last night, and there was like this,
Of course you were.
yeah, and there was this puzzle, like it was very simple, that my fiance and I were working on, but it involved basically turning these valves in the correct order, and you had to like follow the pipe system around the walls, and then
Yes.
the pipes would like branch off, and then you could see that on one branch the pipe uh basically gets cut off, and then the other branch the pipe continued on, and so you just had to choose which valve to turn. So we don't
Yeah.
have to go exactly in that direction, but it reminds me of that idea. I was also thinking like a cell phone signal bar, and how like it's a small bar, a medium bar, and a large bar. And
Yeah.
so maybe like that is the visual, and the first one that you fill up, it's very small and you have to fill it to the top, and then the middle one you have to fill it to the middle, and then the big one you have to fill all the way to the top, and then that
Oh
unlocks the
yeah,
elevator
perfect.
to
Yeah,
go up.
so perfect. So from maybe we'll call it pink. From yeah, let's say from left to right. It's pink. Then what else? Like yellow and blue.
Yeah,
As far as like
sure.
the chemicals, whatever. Um, you know, we'll say that pink is. We'll say maybe pink is grow. Maybe we'll say, just to kind of like make it not obvious. We'll say that this is bloom,
Mm.
and or maybe green, yeah, and then we'll say that, and green is micro. Again, I'm just using the words that we can replace grow, bloom, and micro for something else.
Yeah, absolutely.
um and this way you're not like going from left to right, like, so you want to set, you have to set pink to like the minimal threshold.
Mm.
You want to set green to set pink to minimal, uh green to middle, and yellow to max.
Right. Boom.
And so when you set pink, it unlocks. It unlocks. What is it? It unlocks um, the research
The
lab.
elevator. Oh yeah, yeah.
Um, Nothing happens if you. Yeah, but I was just like, it has to be done in order, right? Like, I think you have to. Or not necessarily. Like, for instance, like, I think maybe if you unlock all three, you weaken the monster or the boss fight, but you could just go like straight up if you want. I don't know.
Yeah. I think
I think we spent enough time on
I
this
agree.
antechamber, and I think we could jump straight to the research lab, see the nursery and room, and fill in those details. And Todd and I can figure out those details.
Exactly.
Give the puzzle to Todd.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I mean, I think I like the visual of like the cell phone tower visual. I think is a nice idea because it's like something that anyone can latch onto in play, and it's it keeps it simple and tangible.
Yeah.
Okay, so the research lab. What I was thinking too is if we want to tease how the puzzle works, there can be different test tubes, and like a small one,
Oh,
a
I
medium
love that.
sized one, and a big one, you know, and maybe they have the different colored liquids in them, to kind of give the visual clues of how the puzzle itself works.
It's almost like too obvious, but like,
Yeah,
but maybe what we do is that the order is different.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. You don't want
so
to
like
like exactly give them the clue.
so the order of the tubes is yeah, of the test tubes
Yeah, I always
is
cite this. I need to find the blog post, but there's a great blog out in like the OSR blogosphere about this guy that bought a book of riddles for kindergarteners, and he
oh
did like
yes,
this challenge where
brilliant.
he used those riddles in his D&D games, and like, you know, his full-grown adult players couldn't figure out the like kindergarten riddles. So you always want to make the puzzles simple.
Yeah,
Yeah. And then maybe like for the research room, like you were saying, if you mix the chemicals in a wrong way, it creates an explosion or something like that. Totoro also says any treats or treasures in the lab. Anna
I think
says
there has to be, right?
snackies.
Like,
Yeah, of course.
um, and there's probably at least one pod or monster,
Yeah.
um, here, like what could that be? Who knows? Um,
I think every room has to have some sort of threat to keep things moving. I was also thinking for the research lab itself, maybe there is a like an antidote to the spores. I don't know if
oh,
that's
I
too
love that.
soon.
Maybe yeah. Let's do antidote to the spores. Um, no, not necessarily. Maybe it's not an antidote, but maybe it's just like a deterrent.
Yeah, exactly.
Uh, or like it or to delay the effects.
Yeah,
To buy you more time.
exactly.
Love
Or
that.
maybe like a like in the this future tech Aztec, like their version of a gas mask, you know, something like that. So if one of the scumbags
Yes.
lost their gas mask, they can use that.
I'm just making some notes here about using the valves below to um uh, cause the vines to retract.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um,
Do it in the wrong order, and the and you accidentally make the boss stronger.
exactly. Do we think these
Very cool.
room also something I wanted to keep in mind is we had mentioned like getting a secret entrance in here, and
Oh yes,
this is
I completely forgot about
also
that.
Jean-Luc, you yourself had said to me when I sent you a preview copy of Rotten Foundations, my award-winning dungeon, which is available on Drive Through RPG for 199, about Jaquaying the dungeon. And
Yeah,
so
Jaquaying. Yeah,
that's
is it
something that I
Jaquaying?
was Jaquazing.
Jaquazing? I think we want to be mindful of using the S. I think, right?
Yeah,
If I remember correctly from a couple of the articles that I read.
you're
But
right.
yeah, Jaquazing the
Jaquazing the
dungeon for sure.
dungeon. And for those watching that don't know, basically, there is a very prolific and accomplished dungeon designer who she made it. She basically pioneered the idea of like the dungeon needs to be
Branching
interconnected.
rooms
Yeah, there
and
always has
loops
to be
and
branching rooms and like loops. So it's not like a railroad, I guess is the typical terminology people use. So you also said there's like one, at least one Potter monster here, and then with like this dot dot dot, and then the dot 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 got me thinking about the secret entrance or room. So maybe it's a creature that has like gnawed its way through, or has like slipped in
Sure.
here somehow, and it comes through the secret entrance. But where does the secret entrance connect to? Is the question.
Yeah, that's it. That's a very good question.
Because
Um,
we've got like three main room. Well, we've got three main rooms, and one of them is the elevator.
we could add another room, and it's just a secret room for. So, for instance, like maybe you can get, or maybe you can get from the research lab into the seedling nursery without doing the chemicals. You
exactly,
can like
through the secret
bypass,
entrance.
right?
And I'm thinking
So
the
you can.
secret entrance could be something like a vent, like an air duct, because these people that once lived here needed to be able to ventilate their
Something could have
space.
burrowed. Like maybe there's like like there used to be like these giant underground slots or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah,
could
yeah,
like dig through like stone.
yeah.
Like
Or like space
like
termites. Ju-
yes, exactly. Space
because
termites
like
that have just like
bugs.
eaten through the stone.
Yeah,
And so like maybe some of the stones just to like crumble and there's
yeah,
literally like a tunnel that could lead to the nursery, like the seedling nursery.
yeah. I like
But
that
you
a
can get like
lot.
stung if you go through it or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Space termites, but they eat stone rather than wood.
I love that. So yeah, we'll call them, rock termites. Rock slash, space termites
Yeah.
have eaten stone and created a secret path
Maybe they even
from
like. Oh, sorry, this just came
the.
into my head, but
Yeah,
while
let's
you're
hear it.
typing, like maybe they burrow in from like above, and then the stones kind of start like falling down, which creates like an encounter in itself. And then it's up to the players to determine like if they can get up in through that tunnel or not, and that's what creates the secret entrance. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah. So you're saying that you want saying that you want stones to fall in the research lab, like just show that like it's crumbling.
Yeah, and then like that creates an encounter, and then it's not immediately obvious that the scumbags can actually get up into
Oh,
that
I
tunnel if they
love
want.
that. So in other words,
Yeah,
like so for instance, like maybe like a giant space rock termite comes crashing into the
exactly,
research lab.
exactly.
Instead of a monster, or yeah, so instead of a pod, we can say space rock termite, crashes through the ceiling. We'll
Right,
say its burrow uh, is a secret path to the seedling room. Fight the monster, fight
exactly.
the termite.
And so like, but if the players just like run away, or
Yeah. Or
they
just kill it
terminate
and
it.
not never bother like investigating, then they'll
Exactly.
never know.
Right, 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 right.
I
So
love it.
you crawl through the termite kind of tunnel, and then it leads out
I'm
to
just gonna
the
quickly add,
nursery. Yeah,
like that if you're going in this tunnel, like you will get stung,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, and you will need to resist, bones, uh, you know,
Yeah,
or
well,
take, like
because
1 point of damage, to yeah, like 1d2 hits,
that also makes a lot of sense because bone, like these are rock termites and they eat mineral, right? And so bones are made of
yeah,
minerals and stone. So yeah,
yeah, calcium,
yeah,
like
exactly. It has that vibe. I think that's a pretty good base for the
that's
research
kind of
lab.
fleshed out. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, and then the seedling nursery room. Something that's made me think of as well is I don't know. Have you seen Alien Romulus, the new Alien movie?
I don't think I have. No, I think yeah, I don't think so.
I'm
No,
giving you a
talk to
list
me.
of movies you got to watch. But yeah, so there's this. So Alien Romulus actually is structured like a dungeon. Honestly, like the whole movie
Hell yeah.
follows kind of like the 5 room dungeon structure. But there's one big scene. One of the major set piece scenes of this movie is the crew is exploring this ancient abandoned spaceship, and there is
Okay.
a research room, and it's been kind of like flooded with stagnant water, kind of like knee deep, and
Yep.
the doors get locked, and then there's these creepy like alien like little baby aliens, and they're swimming around through the water, and then they like jump up, and they do the face hugger thing. But the tension of that scene is that they're swimming around through the water, and one of the crew members gets stuck in the room, so the other crew members get to the other side of the door, and then they have to figure out how to open the door and try to save the crew member before these freaky little space babies jump on his face and like face suck him. So with the seedling thing, I was
So
thinking it could be.
face suckers is what we're is. I hear face suckers.
I hear face suckers. I'm also thinking like it's full of plants, and then there's something like the face sucker is like rustling through the plants, something like that. Um, So it creates this kind of like cat and mouse game is kind of what I'm trying to get at in the seedling room.
Okay.
Anna says, are the termites immune to the poison of the plants? Could their bite trigger some sort of immunity against spore attacks by the final boss?
I love that.
That is a great
That's
idea.
that's that's brilliant.
I also like
It's
that's good thinking, like giving there's like boons
it's like
and
a negative
banes.
effect, but a boost. Yeah, exact. Boons and
Yeah.
banes. You got it.
Totoro says, I feel like from a player's brain, having a sign that you can get somewhere else from the burrow would be cool, like a herbaceous or like a herbaceous or petrichor smell coming out of the burrow. Ah, like just like a hint that you could get up, like you could use it. Maybe if you so like yeah, if you defeat the termite, you would have enough like time and wherewithal to kind of get the smell of
Sure.
like petrichor. I like that idea too. Um, but I also feel like in the immediacy, the immediate aftermath of this giant stone termite crashing through the ceiling, that might not be on your mind. Or if you're missing the face mask, the GM could tease the petrichor smell. There's possibilities there.
I'm misspelling.
Dude, don't worry about the spelling. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's me. I'm cursing you. Okay. So we're gonna I'd say we want to wrap this up, but just to keep things moving, we've got about 20-ish minutes and it'll be a 2 hour stream. So I want to keep working on just to keep chat focused as well. Let's start
Yep.
working on the seedling room. So I'm drawn to this kind of cat and mouse game idea in the seedling room. Like
Let's do it. Let's do it.
when they first enter, it's very like calm and peaceful. And there's like these
Okay.
verdant seedlings growing everywhere. And they're kind of thriving. But then there's like rustling, around the room. And there's one creature, like one plant creature. Maybe it's a baby version of the flesh-eating plant from floor one. Um,
Yep.
but the players have to terminate that baby and get out of here while terminate the baby. Yeah, that sounded
Oh,
horrible.
Jesus.
Terminate the you know, eliminate the plant. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
That's gonna get clipped and that's
Thank
gonna
you.
follow me for the rest of my
Oh
life.
God, gonna get demonetized
Yeah.
instantly
the
before
evil
you even
plant
start.
creature, face sucker, will like pop out at you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like it could be like it can like pop out and then you can dodge it and then it goes back into the like it
Oh, I love that.
disappears.
Yeah, kind of like a whack-a-mole.
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah, 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 exactly. Like a whack-a-mole style
so
encounter here.
face sucker. Is it face sucker? It's not really, right? It's like plant whack-a-mole with this plant enemy, which kind of dart in and out of the brush, maybe
Yeah.
something like that, right?
Or to
Oh
play
yeah.
on that trope, it could even be like it sticks to your face and then its roots like grow in through like your eye sockets or like up your nostrils or down your throat.
Oh hell yeah.
And that's pretty terrifying.
I'm gonna say 100% that's the thing. If you succumb, I think I'm succumb. Yes, succumb. You are blind
Yeah,
and or can no longer speak.
right.
That is just that's just gonna be a thing.
I was also thinking because we've got like flamethrower vibes going on, and this is full of plants. So if one of the dirtbags
What
kind
if
of
the
panic,
plants were like combust, like were like would like if they were combustible, like if they were like incredibly flammable. So like it would like if you I wouldn't say that, or maybe we already have an explosion in the other room, so maybe that's too much. But like if you, because otherwise, like what's preventing someone from just like lighting this whole room on fire and then
that
being done with
was
it? Like what's in the seedling room that like is going to be important to like solving the third half of the puzzle?
yeah, exactly. That's a good point. The vibe I was having too is if they like panic and start torching everything, like the room is closed off in a way that like the smoke would like choke you out and then that creates like a timer situation as well. um Anna says fireball. Anna loves a good fireball.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, we
What
still
else
have
is
to
it?
think of a way to relate it to the main puzzle.
Um, yeah, like how do we telegraph, or maybe yeah, maybe, how do we, or yeah, like or the purpose of the room, um, like what if, and hear me out here. What if, and I know this is a little, um, what if you can only get to room 3 from this room?
Right. I'm with you there.
So we would get rid of this guy here, and that way, like, you're forcing the players into this room. So you cannot get right. So when you're in the antechamber, there's only 2 rooms.
Right.
You've got to solve for those in order to get to room 3,
Right.
right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, I don't know if this still makes sense, but in my mind too, going back to like the cell phone tower signal, like the
Yep.
nursery room is what represents the middle one. So it's like the research lab is like the planting. It's like the first step. And then the seedling room is like the sprouting. That's like the grow it, like the middle step. And then
Yep.
the elevator room is the tallest one, which is like, you know, growth,
Yeah.
or
Bloom,
flourishing,
fruiting. Yep.
blooming, exactly. Um, yeah, so you have to come in through here, and then the doors maybe. I don't know if we're doing too much like door locking, but I do feel like, you know, you get stuck in here, which also prevents you from wanting to torch everything down, because if you do, you know, or I feel like there's got to be some element of like air locking or something going on with the seedling room.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm thinking because yeah, you're right. Like we need something, and I'm just not sure what that is. Like yeah, maybe airlocking might not be what we're looking for, but like we have to telegraph somehow that you need to set. What did we say? That we got to set micro, aka green to the middle, right?
Right.
So um, so I don't know. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Like maybe there
Maybe
are grow lights.
maybe
I'm just
there's
thinking.
like fertilizer, like tubes of fertilizer, and the fertilizer itself like is this glowing green substance, and it's coming down and like pumping into the like pots of soil or the hydroponic water system, and that gives that hint, and it like it's reminiscent of the cell phone tower vibe. Anna says the plants are also super sensitive to fire since it is so dangerous to them, so they will swarm you if you try to torch things. But if you do, the plants will move and show you the next part of the puzzle and or door. So it's kind of hidden behind
I like
all
the
of the
idea that
growth.
the plants in the room are covering up the third door.
Yeah,
Let's
absolutely.
add that. Plants in the room are so abundant, you can't see the door to room 3.
Yeah.
Love that. Greenish choose a fertilizer. I think I want to add. I think they're good. There's got to be grow lights in here. Like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's just like phosphorescent grow lights or something like that
Mhm.
on the ceiling. And what if there was just like a bar, like like you say, like what if there's just like a green bar on the wall that shows like the power level of the lights.
Yeah,
And if you
exactly.
could fry the plant by like increasing the light level.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And it's kind of like hovering at the midpoint or something like that to
Yeah,
give the hint.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Exactly. To
yeah.
kind of like again telegraph. So we'll say like a kind of a holographic indicator, I'll say it's a light switch.
That also provides such like an awesome like 80s action horror movie moment where they grab the meter and like crank it all the way to the top, you know what I mean? And it's like it's time to turn it up or whatever, and then it fries all the plants.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Indicator hovering the middle, telegraphing, the green chemical. And then we could say, players can flood the light in the room and fry the plant, but but risk going blind or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. I also like the
Or
idea
yeah,
too with the phosphorescent lights. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for chaos there. Like if the dirtbags like spray their gun up in the air and they blow out the lights, that could cause issues.
lights. Maybe we can say the lights are disorienting,
Yeah.
and I think that you could probably find some goggles in the research
Mm,
lab
yep.
that would prevent that disorientation.
Yeah. That's a great idea as well. Okay. I feel
I'm
like
feeling
we've
great about
yeah, we've got a
this.
lot going for the seedling nursery room. Do we want to in the last 15 minutes, do we want to try to flesh out the antechamber a little bit more?
uh, your call, yeah. Either at the antechamber or the bloom room, the elevator room, whatever, or the monastic room, whatever you feel.
Yeah, let's review the antechamber real quick and then we'll see how we're feeling about the bloom room as well.
Sounds good.
Um, and then that will hopefully provide a nice segue to finish this thing up with Todd.
Cool.
So, the antechamber, um, are we still okay? So I'm kind of I need to get like a visual of the antechamber, you know? So we have the like cell phone tower puzzle thing.
Mhm.
Um, is it but like what is how do we visually describe that, you know? Like what does it actually look like?
So that's what I was thinking. That like it was like you might have like kind of like three chemicals with like I think we still need to figure out what the puzzle is.
Yeah.
But I think we got to get three things at three different levels. In a specific order, and I think that it's probably just like three like vats of
Yeah.
chemicals with valves that you turn clockwise to
Yeah.
increase and counterclockwise to decrease, and that maybe like next to each vat is an indicator light, that is either green, yellow, or pink.
Yeah, exactly. So, and that's like in the middle of the room. I guess, are there like pipes coming down from the ceiling that like are running through the chamber? So
I
that's,
don't see why not.
yeah,
Yeah, I
so,
was so I'd imagine that this was like mounted on the wall, but I think I much prefer your description
mm,
that sees like the puzzle as like a mechanism, like as like the centerpiece. So
right,
maybe it's like a
exactly.
console, like uh, the puzzle is a console table, something like that.
Yeah. I feel like we still
And
to, oh, sorry,
yep.
while you're typing, we need like a visual or we need some sort of like hint or clue about the levels that you need to rise them to. Um,
Well, we kind of get those hints across the research lab
oh, right, right,
and
right.
the
You're right.
seedling,
You're right. You're
right?
right. Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, mhm.
No, you're totally right.
But if we want to add more in the antechamber, like you mentioned, like pipes, coming
Yeah.
out of the wall. Obviously, like what else? Um,
I feel like
oh,
it's so
by the way,
yeah.
we almost forgot.
Uh-huh.
We did forget.
Okay.
Maybe we stalled for this and then we call it because I think
Sure.
there were supposed to be two staircases going up from the plant pod incubation room,
Oh, yeah.
going up to the second floor.
You're right.
Um, so
I
where
think
does
what
that?
that was originally where we were thinking about the secret path thing, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Well, that's it's kind of one of the reasons it came up because we
Yeah.
had this note here, but there were supposed to be two. I mean, we could just say that there's just one path. Like it doesn't need to be complicated. Like if we want to just like axe one of the staircases going up, but if we wanted, we could add a second staircase going to another room, like, and it could be like a
another
mechanical
room, like, and it
where
could be
it's
like a
like a pump you
mechanical
have to
room,
fix
where it's like a
before
pump you
like
have
the
to fix
antechamber starts
before like
working.
the antechamber
And
starts
it's like
working.
super,
And it's like
super simple,
super simple,
but
or
something like that.
like
There's
there's
lots of options.
Well, sorry, I just started getting crazy echo on the stream. I don't know if anyone else heard that.
Oh no.
Nah, it's fixed now. Something weird happened there. But that's okay. I was following you. Um yeah, I mean, I'm thinking and also for the sake of jaquazing the dungeon, I like the
Yeah,
idea of having two different ways. Do we want to tie in the termite, like the termite tunnels to this as well, or do we want to keep that isolated to the secret entrance on floor two?
it could be that there's one staircase and then like one like hole or tunnel in the wall that you
Yeah,
could take that is like and then you would crash from the termite
exactly.
tunnel into the research lab.
Exactly. So, but if you miss that, and then that's kind of like, so if the players go in through the termite tunnel to get into floor two, they either avoid the termite encounter itself, or I don't know, or they encounter the
I
termite
think
in
they'll
the
probably
tunnel.
encounter the termite in his tunnel,
Exactly.
which is
Yeah,
going to be even more
exactly.
insane.
Right. And then if you don't go in, then the termite crashes down on you. And that I think
Correct.
that's
Yes.
also and it says you just talked double time rapper career secured. Yeah, we were spitting bars there for a second. Um but yeah. And then that's fun for the GM as well because it's like I like lacing those little things. It's like the players don't know, but no matter what happens, no matter which way the players choose to go, um something chaotic and fun is going to happen with the
Yeah.
termites.
So I'm going to
I
say
think
that,
that's a great idea.
so let's go back. We said that we'll say that there's um, one staircase leading to the second floor. We'll say that maybe that's like the easy path.
Yeah.
And then we'll say that the hard path there is a termite tunnel leading to the so we'll say second floor. Um, and this is antechamber.
Yep.
There was a I said termite tunnel leading to the research, yeah, second floor research lab. But Dirtbags will have to fight the termite, the
Yeah.
rock termite.
In the tunnel.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, in the tunnel, that's for sure.
I'm feeling like the termite just comes like charging through, you know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's like,
100%. It's gonna be
yeah.
awful.
Yeah, exactly. But if you manage to get, defeat the termite and get past it, then you jump right
Into the
into the
research lab. Yeah,
research lab.
yeah.
Yeah. That works really well. But then if you do that as well, you kind of miss the whole hint about the puzzle in the antechamber. So it still
But yeah,
gives
but you can but and you could blow but you can blow out that wall or
yeah.
blow out the door from the research lab to the antechamber and then go there, right? So
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah, I mean, I think it's cool. You know what I mean? Because it creates this like loop. You know,
yeah,
there's
yep.
again, we're avoiding
It does yeah, it does add a loop for sure. And I think that that's excellent.
Well, all right, man.
Uh, I think that's it. I don't think we can do really much more than that,
Yeah,
right?
I'm starting to get pretty brain fried, to be honest.
Oh, you and me both, brother. I'm so
But I
glad we don't
think,
have a rotating room.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Just zooming out here though to kind of look, I think we did a lot of good work though today, man. We
Yeah,
we
we
really
did a ton
fleshed
of good
out
work.
floor one. We got a good connection to floor two. We created some good loops, and then when you pick it up with Todd next time, you can figure out the bloom room and then this kind of
I
the
think
the
it's just gonna
final
be one more
floor.
room after that. It's just like you take this
Yeah,
elevator up to the final boss, right? Like that's the kind of the way I'm seeing it. And maybe we got to go back and maybe look at all the things that we discussed um, in this stream, and then maybe go back and look at some of the notes that we took for one and try to tie some of those elements together. But
absolutely.
overall, this was awesome. I really love
Yeah.
the way that things came out.
Yeah, hell yeah. I had a great time. Thank you guys so much for everyone that participated. And yeah, like I said, I'll share the links in my Discord or I'll make a community post on YouTube as well. So you guys should go check out Hex Press here on YouTube. Do you know when's the schedule for your stream with Todd?
I believe it's been about a week from now. It'll be on Sunday, February 16th at 8 p.m. Eastern. I don't want to say that that's tentative. We're pretty sure we're locked in, but obviously things could change. But yeah, we're pretty sure it's going to be on the 16th. So
Yeah,
in a
right on.
little over a week. Yeah.
And then yeah, they'll finish it up there. And yeah, man. thank you so much for joining me. I had a great time.
Thanks for having me. This was incredible. And
Absolutely. We
thank you to
should do it
everyone
again.
in the chat for your contributions and for everyone watching.
Yeah,
Um, and making this kind of dream kind of come true. This was amazing. And thanks you obviously again for having me on.
of course, man.
It's been a
That's
lot of
my
fun.
pleasure. Yeah, and then real quick, hopefully Jean-Luc will be coming to the Land of the Rising Sun in June, and I've already got
Yes.
some ideas cooking up about more fun collabs with the Dungeons Key. So, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, venture forth.
That's your fourth.
Bye.